This episode of Verbal Tap brought to you by NogiBJJGear.com.
Use the promotional code VerbalTap15 to get 15% off of your order. Do it!
Is the moment UFC fans around the world have been waiting for. It's time!
Hitting record on what won't be a lively bluegrass session with the BoloBros, but will be potentially
That sounds like a shame.
helpful.
Let him introduce the show.
Welcome to Verbal Tap, the show that proves fighting is easier from outside the cage, talking not as such. I'm your host, Kevin. With me, of course, Rafa Esparza and the Bolo sisters. Oh, I got to Google that now. Damn it. I haven't checked that one yet.
Good one.
Raph, how are you doing?
I'm fine because I know when I appear as a guest on a show, I let the host wait. So this is the unfortunate part when the guests meet producer Raph. Producer Raph is surly, not nice. Host Raph is a blast. So how about now we properly introduce the guests that we have returning back, who we do love, but as you can tell, are still new at the podcasts. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Danny and Nick, the BoloBros. Welcome back to the show, gents.
Hey guys, how you doing? Hey, so just making sure this isn't the Joe Rogan podcast.
Still not the Joe Rogan podcast.
Oh, you
but
typed in the wrong URL again.
if we're being honest, we've been around as long as them. So for all you know, we are the Joe Rogan of Jiu-Jitsu, which, man, Kevin is not doing enough DMT.
Well, I would actually, and that's my bad.
Were you guys recording a minute ago when I was still talking, or?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, let's get into just the show now. Because you know how studios for movies do those big productions? Like all of a sudden you have Billy Bob Thornton in Armageddon, even though he's really more of an indie actor. That's us. Right, Joe Rogan went corporate. CGI shit, injects veins into his face. He's got Elon Musk high. We're still doing that art house production, and sure, his is more lucrative.
You guys are still real to the people.
Thank you. For example, Nick Sales, I'm watching a fight you have from 2018, and you're trying to triangle the shit out of some guy in Farmingdale, New Jersey, but I haven't seen a Baron Bolo yet. What say you?
Okay, so keep watching that match.
Oh, shit, you just Baron Bolo.
Oh, second mate. How does that feel?
It feels it feels like also, I owe you a bracelet from BoloSisters.com, a very good jewelry line.
And it also just shows you guys are one note. But hey, let's get back to the cordialness of this show. Because guess what?
And Kevin doesn't do his research very thoroughly. But other than that.
And as we learned, they don't do the research for their own SEO. But hey, we are so pleased to have you guys back. Not only because we're stoked to do some results, but I have to ask right up top. Did you guys watch the fights this past weekend for UFC 252?
Dude, I saw the fights I shouldn't have watched. So I watched Sean O'Malley get knocked out, and what's the other one? I watched Stipe win. Yeah, those are the two I watched.
I saw a highlight of that on Instagram, but I was working, so I didn't have time to watch them all or any of them.
Interesting. Well, here's the good news. I did all the work for everybody, so I'll be able to talk nicely about it. But Kev, what if I were to tell you that Daniel Cormier is kind of retired, ?
I would tell you we're exactly where we were before the fight. He's been not in, I mean, look, you know what's easier than fighting? Talking about fighting. We've been very clear about that. It is so much easier to make fun of someone about Baron Boloing than it is to do it in an effing match. DC is really good at talking about fighting. They love him in the commentary booth. I really love him in the commentary booth. That means the hunger goes down from, well, I guess I should choose my words. The hunger appeared to be right on scale, if not even higher, because he looked a little rounder. And which maybe he's trying to get into that Rounders 2 movie starring Ed Norton and the guy.
Wait, they're making a second one?
They've always had a script for a second Rounders. It's always existed. And
The fact that no one knows about that movie is a shame.
Yeah, I was gonna say I didn't even hear about the first one.
What? Oh, it's such a good movie.
Wait, what? Let's address this issue right now. We need to have an intervention.
Like, hold up.
So
Pause on the UFC talk. Let's talk about round.
who gives a
Nicholas
shit
Allen
about
before the-
this Stipe thing? I actually have some funny jokes about the way they hyped these fights. But yeah, I mean, Rounders is a classic. You've got Matt Damon still with his boy band bangs and the bowl cut. You've got Ed Norton just being a great actor before he did anything for Marvel. And fun fact about that movie, John Malkovich, that accent was a surprise to everyone on set, everyone on scene. He just started doing it during their first take.
You're lying.
I'm
Really?
not lying. People nearly
No way.
shit themselves with laughter during.
That's so awesome. That's brutal. Oh man.
So what's the give me like a synopsis
Of
about
the movie? Oh, it's a
Don't-
poker
don't-
underground thing. But Rounders 2 is what I'm excited about. DC
Yeah.
Cormier's in there. They're trying to fix a UFC fight. One of them accidentally sells their wife to Jon Jones. There's a lot that they could do.
Oh, so topical. We will have Jon Jones talk in just a minute, though, Kev. Let's introduce this idea. This one goes out to you, Nick. My question to you is, if I poke your eye, are you allowed to poke my eye in a fight?
Ooh, I believe the saying goes, and correct me if I'm not wrong, Hammurabi said an eye for an eye. So I believe that if you poke me in the eye, 100% I should be able to poke you in the eye. 100%.
Well, if you're Daniel DC Cormier, you don't believe that to be true because he was super pissed that Mark Goddard did not stop the fight when he got poked in the eye after poking Stipe in the eye. So it was a very strange turn of events between the two. And mind you, he was not looking good. I will tell you this. In the second round, Stipe was putting it on DC and looked like he nearly was about to knock him out with just a few seconds left in the second round. DC looked dazed. He gets over to his corner, and he was fighting a very solid fight. However, from that point on, he really couldn't see out of his eye. When they announced the result, it was not a huge surprise to everybody, but it was a spectacularly fun fight to watch. I want to credit a couple things over
Was it
for
fun?
Stipe.
I mean, you enjoyed
It
it.
was.
You were like, this was a good fight because I want to get into this about UFC. They were intermixing Muhammad Ali versus Foreman. They were talking about famous rematches in fight history, and I nearly threw up. I was like, are you shitting me right now? This is not like Rumble in the Jungle. Come on.
Yeah. This isn't even Rumble in the Apex Center. Like, this is just kind of like, is this what we're doing? I mean, sure, it's fine. No, I had a great time with the fight. I thought the fight was very captivating and true to Daniel Cormier's spirit of being the ultimate underdog and still finding a way to continue to fight a final fight. So there was a very, very cool thing about that.
But what do you guys think about that? Like, I heard his cornea detached or something to that extent. Like, do you think in that case, like, they should have some sort of rematch, or because that just seems like an unfair advantage if at some point during the match your eye basically is rendered useless, you know?
I will tell you this right now. First of all, hashtag Daniel Cormier. Just to give you that. Second of all, I thought about this very heavily while watching the fight, which was as follows. I said, I don't think DC can go through this again. He is mentally checked out since he said he was going to turn 40. He famously said, you will not see me fighting in there past 40. And then Dana White unloaded a god-only amount of money from a truck into his house, and he continued to fight. And I got to tell you, man, when somebody tells you they don't want to fight anymore past a certain time, and they do, I don't care who they are. You know, part of that motivation isn't there. And granted, he made it look amazing. So I'm truly proud of what it was that he was doing. It's just, I kind of got to that point where I said, I don't think he's really into it.
Yeah, I could see that. But I mean, if what you're saying is true, then there's nothing stopping Dana from offering him even more money, say if there's no one else for Stipe to fight, right?
Well, great news.
He can't make that much money off him now.
There's someone else for Stipe to fight, and he wouldn't shut up. One of my favorite things Raph does is like, so sports journalism, this will be good. Actually, I think this will be nice. This is Kevin talking, Nick and Danny. I think one of the things sports does is it takes a small clip from something someone says and creates headlines out of it. It's not all that dissimilar to some issues we have in the media in general. This was one where they always take the first tweet Jon Jones does. Raph is a much more seasoned sports journalist, and he's like, sure, I'm going to give you that one, and then I'll keep you updated on where he goes. Because Jon Jones' publicist always sends the first tweet, and then you can tell he fires the publicist and is like, I got to elaborate. So it's always like, this is where we started, which was like a super respectful tweet about love the UFC, love it. 7 minutes later, it's like, my dick's so big, I'll stuff it in your mom, Stipe. And you're like, oh my God, what the F happened to Jon Jones' Twitter account? And that's basically where it went. But it seems like they were doing a very purposeful job to get overweight Cormier in the fight. And I don't think Dana's bringing the Brinks truck next time. I think this was a setup.
I don't see Jon Jones going up to heavyweight, though, to be honest.
You don't? I mean, if he stops doing coke alone, he'll gain 35 pounds if the 90s taught us anything.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely, I feel like he would do it. You know, he's having a hard time finding fights right now. He's having a hard time, you know, staying out of trouble as is.
The second one's more right than the first one.
Yeah, I'd like to see him fight like a top 5 contender. Maybe let's throw Jon Jones against Ngannou. I'd watch that.
Oh man,
you know, if you're gonna throw Jon Jones up to the Wolves, you might as well make some extra money off of it. So I'd put Jon Jones against Ngannou. Winner that gets Stipe.
I want the Black Beast first. I want the Black Beast versus Jon Jones. Let's get somebody who's ironically more conservative and like weirdly more pissed off.
Well, let me bring this up to your guys' attention. So I think you're kind of alluding to a few things. Number one, DC said in his post-fight interview, I only fight for championships, and if I'm only going to be in this position, yeah, I think I'm about done. And everybody said nice things about them, as they should. It was a great final fight, if that is the case. But he never quite said, yeah, I'm super retired now. He just kind of said, I mean, unless you're going to give me a championship. And that was only solidified later in the evening when Dana White was saying, well, what championship do you think he's going to fight for? Stipe? And the person who asked the question was like, oh, ouch, Dana. Okay, cool. Then I guess we're done here. So Dana was on one that night as well. However, you brought up the idea of Jon Jones, and I think something may have triggered him to respond the way that we did see him respond, which is as follows. Dana White said, Francis has that next fight. Undoubtedly, it's going to be Francis. I don't care if Jon Jones wants in, because Jon Jones was saying, looks pretty good, Stipe. I think I want to try some of that. And
he
then
said something about eating a cheeseburger. It's like, dude, I don't think that's going to do it. I've seen your swim routine.
Yeah.
So after all of that, then Jon Jones, maybe after, everybody says a nice thing about DC, then, in true Jon Jones form, you can't let a headline go about DC without Jon Jones chiming in and stealing the thunder, who he says, I'm retired. You guys can hang. I just gave up my title. I gave up the light heavyweight. Oopsie doopsie. Bye, everybody. It's been fun. And then I put that quotation up, and then one of our fans sends me a note that says, no less than an hour later, hey, Raph, you been keeping up with this? And I said, no. Shit, he probably said some more dumb shit. And lo and behold, he said he is interested and that negotiations for him to compete at heavyweight are already back on. Gents, that happened within 80 minutes. And I'm telling you, to relinquish a title and then put up a series of crazy-ass motherfucker tweets is within the wheelhouse of Jon Jones.
Yeah, for sure.
But all right, so then if you had to choose Jon Jones versus Stipe or Jon Jones, do you think he deserves an instant title fight at heavyweight, or would you like to see him go against some of the top contenders in that weight class?
It is hard to tell him otherwise because you do have one of the few draws that you could be fucking with.
You two fight. How would you feel? You've been working your way up. You're crushing it. You're Baron Boloing people. No one's noticed yet. You're a little angry. Kevin only watched the first minute of the fight, like every other sports journalist.
Criticizes me.
How do you feel
I just don't want the same thing that happened to Conor McGregor to happen to Jon Jones. I don't want someone bumping up a weight class, beating the champion, and then just like vacating the title, and then just
don't worry, we'll get to the Conor McGregor portion of this evening's festivities.
He's also got a cheeseburger. He's struggling to get his thick as well.
Yeah.
So what I would tell you is this. I think it's kind of hard to mess with your pay-per-view money, so you do want to put him in the mix. And I think that Stipe has already been promised Francis. So, yeah, you might have some very fun negotiating power here by saying Jon Jones and Derek Lewis, Kev. It might be just the most absurd thing this side of, I don't know, Mike Tyson still fighting? Oh, why the fuck not anymore?
This is more fun. Well, let's pitch it. I'm going to go upvote. What do you guys, what's this like? We've got the BoloBros. They're about to do episode 7, heavyweight matchups. Good plug for them, by the way. You two also, jokes aside, their jiu-jitsu is excellent. You all have an online webinar coming up, correct? As well, I want to plug that just before I start mocking you again.
Yeah, we do. It's August 29th. Sorry, August 29th. And you can hit us up on Instagram and reserve your spot. We only have a few spots. Keep it pretty personal, and we're going over a lot of Baron Bolo details. So no matter where you are in the world, you can plug some Bolo details.
Let me just say this with true love and affection here. Love you guys, hate beer and bolos. So how would I go about signing up for this when, and believe me when I say this, I know you're going to give me some pushback on it, is not humanly capable of doing a beer and bolo?
I don't believe those.
I don't believe
it.
Oh, they need to see my ass, Raph. They haven't seen how bottom heavy I am. This should be interesting.
You would have to know how to do a proper Baron Bolo and what a proper Baron Bolo is first before you tell us that you cannot do it. So
I would tell you this.
Proper Baron Bolo, I have a really hard time believing that you really understand what a proper Baron Bolo is.
I have broken many a coach, way more optimistic than you, from ever believing that it was possible. And they put in hours upon hours of time, and yet at the very end of it, they turned into disbelievers in the saddest of ways. And yet I told them, I'm very sorry.
Joke's on you. We're too skeptical already. Let's go.
I have a way different response. In 2012, I attended 15 minutes of a Meow Brothers seminar. So tried it once, didn't go well, haven't attempted it since.
I mean, did they speak English at that time? I can't imagine that the instruction was top notch.
And to be fair, it was definitely a little bit of beep, beep, beep. And I go, I don't know what they're saying, Kev. But they're definitely doing some stuff. So that's my impression of the Meow Brothers. But I guess what I'm saying to you guys is we're very much looking forward to that. People should go sign up, and they should learn from you guys who are capable beer and bolo coaches. And more importantly, I've seen your work. Your body of work speaks for itself. So I'm very excited for people to go do that. Let's return back to these fights because there's a lot to talk about. So you mentioned who you want to see Jon Jones matched up against. Do you have interest in seeing Stipe versus Francis? I'll direct this one to Danny.
Oh, man, for sure. I think that would be an amazing fight. That would definitely be so. Anytime that these guys fight with each other, it's like you can roll the dice and it might go the distance, but you know that any random shot could just end in just disaster and devastation. It's just like, it's like paddling through the ocean. You know, you're like, it could be totally fine. Absolutely nothing's going to happen. They could go the distance. Trade technique could be great. Or a shark could come up and eat you, and in one moment, your entire life is over and you had no idea and couldn't see it coming. That's kind of like one big punch. Everything goes like south. Mm-hmm. So it's always interesting to see guys like this fight and to see when you know that the stakes are so high with every exchange. It's especially someone like Ngannou and Stipe himself. I mean, it's incredible to see a fight like that when you know there's so much in the balance with every exchange.
And the first fight was beautiful. Like the strategy that Stipe implemented was like phenomenal. So I can't imagine that the second fight will just be as good or if not better.
Yeah.
Kev, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, Kev, I did not expect the shark metaphor, but we have it. So other than that was beautiful analysis. Now, Kev, here's my question to you. the note that I got, it was during the post presser, Dana was talking about how huge this fight was, and the metaphor or the analogy
Was he talking
that he
about
gave.
DC's waistline, or did he mean huge in a different way?
First of all,
sorry.
this was a slender DC comparatively.
Yes.
If you look at the weights that he checked in on this fight, so be nice. However, yes, he did look a little, thick for him,
Hey,
but
I
that's
get
what
it.
he does.
Yeah, but sorry, finish your question.
Now, would you believe that Dana said that this fight was so huge because, my kid, he lives in San Diego, and this fight was so huge, people were looking outside of his house through his window. That's how much people wanted to see that. Do you believe that's a strong barometer of how popular a fight is?
No, and this is going to turn sad quickly, but San Diego has a huge homeless population. And Dana, those are people that struggle to be able to pay rent as well as UFC fees. And plus, ESPN Plus is fucking confusing. There's times I'm like, I should just go walk around the streets until I see someone's window that has it. That's easier than trying to re-verify my account for a 94th time.
Oh man.
So I have mixed reviews, but for me, this was a fight that they clearly got the ESPN PR team meeting that they maybe hadn't gotten before. That was like, hey, we think there's some chances to really up this, and that's because the ESPN team's bored as fuck because there's no sports going on in the NBA. They're like, this is a bubble. We're not even invited. And B, because UFC is boring right now. We can say whatever we want. It's a boring time to be in UFC. We have no champions that are dominating, free of scandal. DC was one of our big ones. Stipe is a firefighter, and if he wasn't so damn boring as a person, love him. But he's a boring ass hype. He has none of the Nick Diaz.
Man.
He has none of the Nate. He has nothing quirky or specific. He's just this Midwest firefighter that also beats the shit out of people and apparently lifts some weights because that guy looked in shape.
He looked real good. And I think he was putting down and at least being facetious with how much he was training for this fight. I'm being like, I've been doing a lot of blah, 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 blah. And then all of a sudden you see him in there and you go, no, I think you've clearly been in shape this whole time, first responder. So let's sit down. I would tell you this, though, Kev. He had a great moment during the presser where he actually showed a little bit of his personality. And I want to put this to the Bolo brothers because you don't know too much about my grappling game. It's not great. But from what you know about the media, when he went up there and there were two media members who were going to ask a question at the same time, and Stipe's reaction was, fight for it. Fight for it. Fight for it.
Oh my god.
I put up on our social media, I said, you know what? I'm into that. Because I think, all things considered with social media role, I would do okay.
I would fuck John Anik up. I know that.
I love it.
Dude, yeah, let's do it. I want to see Ariel Helwani fight one of those other guys. I'm down for it.
Ariel Helwani's the worst. You do. This is where the Bolo Bros are like, we just got to get credentialed. Are you shitting me? I know I'll fuck them up.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah, the only one that I know that could pose a problem would be Ben Folks. And I've heard he's a brown belt, might be a black belt now, and he's about no nonsense. I think Luke talks a good game, but those guys don't even show up anymore. Now I just got to like Kimura the Schmo, and I'm pretty sure I could do that. So just putting that out there for everybody.
And I'm not even limited to MMA journalists. I'll heel hook Tim Legler if I get the chance to take over his NBA spot. Yeah, you heard me.
I sent some Game of Thrones from that reference too when he was like, fight for it. Like I sent some like the medieval rage there. He's definitely a Game of Thrones fan.
That Vikingness definitely popped itself out. Gents, let's go ahead and move to the co-main event. So I'm going to ask this one over to Nick. Nick, were you hurt by the result on this one? Were you happy about it? Because guess what? The internet went one of two ways on this one.
What was the fight?
We're talking about
Sugar Shane O'Malley.
Sugar Shane.
So,
how can you forget?
I have an interesting story to say about this. So I think it was yesterday. I was scrolling through Instagram and I saw a Sean O'Malley quote where he was proposing a potential fight against Conor McGregor. Now, this quote was from like a week ago, I'm assuming. And he was basically saying, I think I would be a good match for Conor. I would be big at that weight class. I think I could knock him out in a round. Granted, this was after I saw Sean O'Malley get knocked out. So I really feel for the man. I can't imagine that quote aged well, considering he lost, I think, in 30 seconds against that Vince guy.
This was against Cheeto.
Cheeto, yeah, he lost in 30 seconds against Cheeto. So
What a name, by the way.
So I think it's to go from losing to Cheeto in 30 seconds to thinking that you could beat Conor McGregor is a big difference. Now, I'm upset because I believe we said that Sean O'Malley was going to win and it didn't go our way. But, it is what it is. Cheeto looked good out there. He reps jiu-jitsu. I know he's a AOJ brown belt or black belt, something like that. So, it is what it is.
You're on the dartboard somewhere. Danny.
Do you guys have? Hold on, Rev. I have to ask a quick Art of Jiu-Jitsu question. So if that's Vera AOJ being Art of Jiu-Jitsu, for those of you that are like, what the hell did he just say?
Up, or is that true?
No,
I have no idea. But do you all feel an internal rivalry with them with your Bolo stuff?
Oh no, definitely not, because they first of all are retired, and there's a big gap, and someone's got to fill it. And they're the OGs of the Baron Bolo, or two of the OGs. You have the Mendez brothers, then you have the Miao brothers, have kind of more popularized the Baron Bolo, and third generation. Now you have the BoloBros. So it's evolution. It's not really a rivalry or anything like that.
I disagree.
We definitely respect those guys.
It's not like
a lot.
me and Danny aren't blood related or anything.
Yeah.
You said there was a big gap. I would argue, if I know anything about a Baron Bolo, it's a tiny gap. But all right.
Big gap from what? What did I say?
Is that a sexual joke?
That was not. He said there's a big gap. Never mind. All right, Raph, I don't have time.
We have noises that we play when it is a sexual reference, so don't worry. We have a soundboard just for those things.
It's Snoop Dogg hitting on Martha Stewart. You're going to love it.
Oh my goodness.
Kev, question to you. Is the hype train derailed?
Big time. And I'm the conductor. I was like, oh, finally. Pride hair wearing O'Malley is going to put us on the map. You guys ass kicked in 30 seconds. This was my fault entirely. I jinxed him. Okay, and the fact he was one of like the few fights we agreed on, not a good sign. Just from looking at the results, guys, that wasn't great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hopefully it's not the Aaron Pico in Bellator. Hopefully we don't see that again, where we get all up and excited for like another chance for him to redeem himself, and he just fails again. And then we're excited for him to redeem himself, and he just fails again. And
That's why it's so interesting in the sport, because every fight is a chance to fail so spectacularly. So to have the success that he's had so far says so much, and people start to believe that you're unbeatable. And the worst is when these people start to believe in their own hype. And then I believe once people believe their own hype, that's when they start to get derailed. And, sad to say that definitely kind of happened a little bit.
You think so? You don't think Conor McGregor believed in his own hype?
I think he believed in his hype way too much when he got choked out.
Oh, thank you. I was just about to say, I think he did. And then somebody was like,
I think once he got choked out, he was he found some wood to knock on and got back to.
But it definitely got him as far as knocking Aldo out and beating Eddie Alvarez.
Oh, for sure.
But it was not wood he knocked on. That was just an old human being that might have resembled wood. It was a human, though.
Fair play. But I mean, it's definitely the kind of thing that you have to believe in yourself to a point. But I feel like there's a difference between believing in yourself and believing in your abilities, and because you know what those abilities actually are.
But what is that line? Because at what point are you able to control that line? I think the audience's interpretation is it's a very simple thing to do, yet it's also weird when you have incredible ambitions. Do either of you have an answer for that?
The line has to be, and I feel Nick might have a different answer, but for me, the line is when whatever your opponent throws at you, you truly believe that if randomly it pops up in the middle of a tense situation, in the middle of a fight, you're not thinking about it, but then all of a sudden your opponent throws up this situation for you, you know how to counter it, and you know exactly what to do, and you're prepared for it. As long as you understand that what could happen, you're already prepared for, then you're well safe, and you have not crossed that line into the delusions of grandeur.
Yeah, I wouldn't say I would disagree. I just think that line is when self-belief and like skill are equivalent. Like they're the same.
Yeah.
You know, one's not greater than the other. It's just completely leveled off.
Because you have a lot of
here's-
people like Shane O'Malley, man, just like Nick said, he went from believing he was going to beat Conor McGregor to getting knocked out by Cheeto in like 30 seconds. And that's no disrespect to Cheeto, but, you know, imagine believing that and then maybe not actually being on that level. Maybe he is, maybe he isn't, who knows? But that definitely speaks to something about the level he's at where that can happen so quickly because of whatever the reasons were, you know?
Let me say a few things about the hype train. First and foremost, I want to give the credit that is due to Cheeto. Cheeto did an incredible plan here. And as it looked, it was a little ambiguous at the time, but a kick that he hit was a very, very well-placed kick that seemed to aggravate an injury on Sugar Shane. So, Sugar Sean. However,
I love the way that you just said that, by the way.
thank you. I would tell you this, though. The problem with the hype train is that the biggest conductors of the hype train are usually the people who get the maddest about the hype train. Case in point. So people here are building up this young man. And yes, the UFC is definitely getting behind him. However, if you noticed, this wasn't just a, hey, this guy lost. It was a, this guy deserved to lose, which to me as a fan never feels great because I want these fighters to believe in themselves. I want these fighters to be calling their shots because closed mouths don't get co-main events. And more importantly, Cheeto, again, we paid our due respect here. He might not have gotten this co-main event so quickly without having a loudmouth partner who helped to put him there. So when I see somebody like Sugar Sean lose, yeah, obviously, it's kind of like, hey, man, listen, you finally lost one. And I get it when Cody No Love is going to talk shit to him. But when you have a whole audience excited about the fact that a hype train got derailed, all I'm thinking is, my first question to them is, well, did you help make that hype train possible? And I think if people really look at the way that they get excited and angry about these sort of things, I think if they're truly being honest with themselves, they might see that they may be contributing to the problem they hate. Just saying.
Yeah, for sure.
But do you think that the whole hype train thing is cyclical and sometimes we need hype trains to fail to allow a new star to born from that hype? For example, Cheeto might be the next guy, right? Due to Sean O'Malley losing.
I think a large part of it too is like the personality of said hype train. You know, hype trains aren't just built by the fans and by the UFC and whoever else. They need something to blow up. And so if there's not, you know, if they don't have an explosive personality, you know, they're not going to look to build a hype train out of them. Like, look at Jose Aldo. I mean, how good was he for how long? You know, on a run that was so crazy and beating the top guys for the longest. And it's like, he's a nice guy. He's respectful. He doesn't talk smack. He keeps his head down and he just goes to work. It's like, it's really hard to create a hype train out of him the same way that Shane O'Malley or Conor McGregor
I
would.
think Aldo had hype. Like, look
he definitely
at
had hype.
Khabib. Khabib barely says anything, and
Yeah.
who has more hype than Khabib?
Yeah, but how many?
But where
fights
does
Shane O'Malley
Khabib's
have
hype
versus
come
how
from,
many-
though? Here's
Yeah.
the thing that I
From
find that's
beating
interesting
the
about
ass
Khabib.
of the loudest loudmouth in the
Exactly.
fucking planet,
That's-
right?
But hold on. Khabib would not be pulling down $3 million a fight without Conor McGregor. And that is something that is very interesting about this because a lot of people want to talk about how humble he is. And that's great. But he certainly didn't turn down a paycheck that now is his new asking price as
Didn't
a
he
result of having
also
a dance partner.
try and fight someone after the? He jumped into the crowd.
Yeah.
Tried to
Just
fuck
posh
people
guy.
up.
He
So it's one of those
jumped
like,
on Dylan Dennis. Yeah.
yeah, he might not have
Khabib-
said
Khabib
it.
is another level too because you know so you either get to this stardom, this hype train level by either winning so much that you literally just become like unstoppable, where they can't, undeniable, right? or you can build the hype train without having to win all those fights by talking all that smack. So it's like there's two ways to build a hype train.
Or you can acquire both.
Yeah, and if you do both, I mean, oh my goodness, then you're the ultimate hype train.
Like for me, that'd be like Israel Adesanya. I feel like Israel has the personality and he has the technique and skill sets to back it up.
What's his record, though?
But back to what I was saying, if Paulo Costa comes out and beats Israel, I believe Bohashina is in a position where he can absorb some of that hype from Israel in that case.
Yeah.
So then the hype train doesn't get derailed. It just takes a new path. Like it literally is just for Cheeto, just goes, I'm on it now. Boop, boop, boop. I would tell you this. Cheeto deserves all of that. So hopefully he gets to inherit all of the benefits of it. I'm rooting for Sugar to come back because I think we need interesting people. And I really think it's hard to be interesting. And to me, I think if you're a fan of this sport and you truly are, maybe just look at the practice that you have if you are truly worried about the hype train, because the UFC wouldn't give them that slot if they weren't making all of those people watch, if they weren't making all of those people come in. So to tell someone to not be interesting and not believe in themselves is fucking insane. And when people want to talk about how fighters should be humble, it's a weird slope. I hope that they're humble. And there are some fighters I hope lose sometimes. But at the same point, I never sit there and go, they deserve it, unless it's Ben Askren. And then I say, he deserved it.
Really?
And that hype train was derailed, and that was great.
Don't do Funky like that, Funky Ben.
You know what, Funky, here's what you can say. Because Funky is the guy who basically was saying that Sugar Sean fell under the pressure. And I said, well, pot, kettle, black. Here's a good rule of thumb. Whatever he says, just say opposite, and you're correct. Kevin, let's move further down the line here. It was a little sad for Junior Dos Santos because he got knocked out. And I think this is something we all saw coming, right?
You're damn right I did. Not we all. Some of us on the podcast didn't quite see it. But yeah, Junior Dos Santos, he's been on this tear for a little bit. I will also say I've been on the wrong side of his decisions because, you know, the guy's dangerous. Doesn't matter. Black belts are dangerous. Experienced UFC fighters from Brazil are fucking dangerous. Rosenstrike's good. It's time for the new guard. I like these fights.
Here's the real deal.
He's good. And Dos Santos, God bless Dos Santos, but this is where you need to work on a little thing we call bargaining power. The UFC doesn't give a shit about you, not as a human being. I mean, that's tough to hear, but I think we'll see Dos Santos as the Bellator champ in a few years, and then I think we'll see him at ADCC, and I can't wait.
Can I tell you, though, one of the saddest things that happened was about a day later, and he put out a tweet, and this is the one that broke my heart. Watching him lose, there was a kind of moment where Jairzinho actually put his arm around him, and it was a great little sports moment, and I said, oh, what a nice ending to that story. However, my heart hurt the next day when you had Junior Dos Santos go, I do so well in the gym, and I do so many great things, and yeah, I'm on this losing skid, and I don't know.
He's
why.
35, bro. I know why. You're on the same losing skid I'm on against time. It's tough.
Yeah,
well,
that's the wrong side of a thing to be on. Time is the one thing that you can't outrun, you know?
It's a rough one.
I'm older. I could say it. I mean, 35 is young to podcast, as someone pointed out, because Joe Rogan's like 94. That's why his head gets so red when he takes some Alpha Brain and starts talking about things and struggles to understand, you know,
Is that adrenochrome, bro?
Have you ever tried that stuff, the Alpha Brain?
Yeah.
I heard it actually makes your head bald for the time that you take it.
Well, I haven't had that problem because this guy's still got a full, luscious blonde locks. But I've also heard that too. I try not to take it on repeat days. Junior Dos Santos is a pioneer. He's been at this a long time. Sometimes there are certain fighters that are not wired to hang it up. That's why they're this. That's why they are fighters. Fighting is effing intense. There's something wrong. So this is going to get heady. That documentary with Alex Hanal, the free solo, they scanned.
I love that. Yeah,
it's unbelievable. But they scanned his brain, and what they found is like basically your medulla oblongata might not be the right word. You process stimulus differently. I believe Junior Dos Santos is one of those human beings. He processes stimulus differently. Dude, get into wingsuit jumping. Just do anything else.
Yeah, they definitely, like, when they did that, though, they basically said he just doesn't respond the same. But they also said and I've actually met Alex, and it's really, like, it's because of the disgusting amount of time and climbing and heights that he's dealt with and handled his life, that it just simply doesn't faze him the same way. But, you know, when I talked to him about jiu-jitsu and like choking people and stuff, he was like, oh my God, like that sounds like completely and totally heinous. Like I would never do like he was like, that's so intense. And I'm like, you know what you do, bro? Like, that's crazy.
You just free climbed El Cap, you crazy son of a bitch.
He's like, for him to do that, it's like nothing, and for us it's everything. But then for us to like go into jiu-jitsu match or like, you know, go fight MMA in a cage with someone else that wants to like lop your head off, like for him that's insane. So if you scan his brain doing those things, it's going to look a lot different, and that's kind of what he said.
Should we perhaps take a moment to ask how you just stumbled upon having an Alex drop-in
I didn't
story?
see that episode on BoloBros. I probably would have tuned in.
Is that after butt scoots?
I'm not even playing with you. It was literally after butt scoots and before evening training, right after lunch. I was in Vegas, and I had trained in the morning. I went out to lunch, and I was like, okay, cool. I have like 4 hours free, and I have nothing better to do. And I'm just like living out of my car at the time. So I was like, screw it. Like, I'm going to go find a rock gym and just climb for a little while. And so I found this gym, and I went to climb, and sure enough, Alex Honnold was there. And I was like, I don't want to be weird, but can we like talk for a bit? So he was the nicest guy. He was so cool. And man, dude was intense, I'll tell you that. But he's a really nice guy.
How good would he be at jiu-jitsu, by the way? I
Oh
just have a
my
strong, like
God.
his grip
He would
strength.
not be able to break his grip.
This motherfucker's going to be amazing in the gi. It's like if you could just chill, because obviously you're not going to get all that
Just
strung
show him
out.
like a double sleeve guard and just like watch no one get out of it.
I think that if Alex Honnold ever gets bored of climbing and somebody somewhere convinces him to train jiu-jitsu, he never would right now because it would ruin his climbing endeavors if he got an injury from jiu-jitsu, and I don't think he'd be able to live with that. But say he got bored, like in a hypothetical world, if he got bored of climbing and decided to do jiu-jitsu, oh my good Lord, that like he's the way he sees things is insane.
Yeah,
and
that determination, like apply to jiu-jitsu.
Well, speaking of late takes from the Rogan podcast, I forced Raph to do a LeBron James pod years ago before he was a Laker, and Raph really didn't care then. Now he entertains it more.
He's great. He's the best. What are you talking about, Kev? Those episodes never happen.
Shut up. So I was obsessed with LeBron James as like, this motherfucker would murder Jon Jones. I was like, I saw this. So when I see all the articles surface, it's like, Joe Rogan thinks LeBron James is just amazing. I was like, fuck you. You are stealing straight up plot lines from us. I have like 3 annoying comments to my fiance, a documentary about jiu-jitsu, and that one, it was like 12. I was like, I just fucking can't imagine this guy in a gi. I really can't. He'd climb me and choke me before I even knew what was going on.
I'm just pleased that they're going through our back catalog for episode fodder because they're so far in. They're like, shit, we have nothing to talk about today. Having said that, point of information. How long did it take before you asked him or talked to somehow that I'm guessing not at all smoothly about jiu-jitsu?
Who's that, Alex?
Yeah.
Oh, dude, it was like, so you know how they say like never meet your heroes? Mm-hmm. So I've met a lot of people who I've been like they're famous, they're really cool, they're whatever. And I've never been impressed. Like, they're just people. They all, you know, everybody poops, everybody pukes, everybody dies. They're all people. And so I don't really look at people like they're anything crazy or too special. But, man, I am a huge Alex Honnold fan. And he is literally one of, like, the mentally strongest, like, humans that I think I've, you know, kind of come across. And so I'm a big fan of his. He's helped me a lot with his mindset and everything. And, it's
so he
so
definitely
cool.
lived up to your expectations.
Man, I was like fangirling when I met him, and I was like, I've never gone up to somebody and been like, yo, like,
He's like, why is this guy sweating
yeah.
profusely?
No, it wasn't like that. But I've never walked up to somebody and been like, hey, like, can I meet you? Like, I don't like. It's so weird. Like, imagine like going up to like a really hot girl somewhere and being like, just randomly, like, it felt similar to that. So it's like, you know, you go up to a hot girl, you talk to her, it's like, okay, it's not a big deal. But if it's like
It was like that on steroids.
it was like that on steroids, yeah, it was kind of crazy. So I basically just walked up to him and I was like, yeah, like, can we talk for a bit or whatever? And he was like this is weird. I was like, could we like take a picture? And then we started talking, and he was really cool.
Did you shake his hand?
Yeah, dude, there's a picture on my
What
Instagram,
did it
like
feel
way
like?
back.
Like, was his hand like pure, like
Yeah.
sandpaper?
No, he
Okay, hold on. I'm going to make sure that we get to the part where you answer my question,
Yeah.
which is I
So-
asked, how long did it take for you to manually insert jujitsu into a conversation I can only guess was not organically about jujitsu?
No, a couple minutes. I basically just said that, hey, man, like the way you approach climbing and your mentality on, dealing with difficulty and competition mindset, basically. He doesn't really call it competition mindset, but your mindset has really helped me with my job and competing as a professional athlete. And so I just want to say thanks. And, I really appreciate you kind of putting it out there and everything. And so we started talking from there. He was like, oh, what do you do? And so I told him, and he was like, oh my gosh, he goes, that's like crazy. Like, and so then we started talking a little bit more for a little bit. And that's how that came up. And it was pretty wild, man. But it definitely one of the very few people that I've ever like looked up to and then met. And then I was like, oh my gosh, like
That's so awesome.
that's so cool.
And here's a big difference between how Joe Rogan and I would cover something. This is Kevin speaking again. When he went to Angola, Joe Rogan was like, tighten your buttholes. He's free climbing Angola. And here's what I would have said. Tighten your taint. It's coming because of alliteration. And that's something that you get in grad school. Thank you. Thank you. I'm just waving at the crowds as they go by. I'm impressed because I'm right with you in terms of mindset. And Raph, are you ready for the ultimate
Tighten your
right
taint.
hand
That's so
turn
funny.
back
Wait,
to the
but
UFC
wait.
fights?
Why would you need to tighten your butthole for Angola?
That's my whole
You're
point. It
about to
doesn't make
watch
any
Alex
fucking
climb.
sense. Tan that taint, baby. Get out in the sun. I don't know. Tighten
Wow.
whatever you want to do. Just use something that doesn't take so many words and doesn't use the word butthole because it makes me think I'm in an episode of Hey Dude.
I'm so glad that somebody heard what Kevin was saying and said, no, let's go further down the insert rabbit hole. Tell me more about that alliteration you did right there. Sure. Let me just do some
Jim
drive-bys real
Miller.
quick. Kevin, were you going to
No
say
one
something?
tans the taint in fighting harder than Jim Miller, who loses to. And Raph and I were like, oh, before we talked about this, we actually do a little bit of prep, and he and I were like, am I really going to vote against Vince from Hell Pichel? Doesn't that hurt? And it felt okay because it was Jim Miller. And if anyone's gonna free rope up El Cap, even having no climbing experience, I'd put money on Jim Miller. I'd put money
hell
on the
yeah.
Miller brothers. They'd be like, I can fucking do it. Fuck him. Loses this fight, Raph. What happened? I want to skip past Burns, who got KO'd. I want to skip past Dodson, who was too short to ride the rides. And I want to get to what happened to Jim Miller.
Let me
Dude,
give
I-
you some. Oh, go ahead.
Vince had a mustache too, right?
Yes.
I hate when dudes with the Freddie Mercury mustaches win, dude. That's like that personally pains me.
Okay, so I'm interviewing Vince on Thursday. I will make sure to make mention of that and
Tell him
then
to blow
casually
up.
drop in your website. And, I'm going to tell him to sign up for your guys' seminar because I feel like that should be a good thing. No, this is what we said last week, which is they're both friends of the show. And oddly, I haven't interviewed either of them. Like, we're familiar and friendly with both of them. And like Vince is out here in LA. So like we casually run into each other every once in a while because we have a lot of similar friends. And there's always been a moment of people are like, how come you haven't interviewed him? I was like, I don't know. And then once he won, I go, well, that was pretty badass. So we set it up. So Thursday, kids, on the grappling hour,
sick.
1 p.m.
Let's go.
West Coast time. Anyway, I can tell you this, Kev. He was really solid, and the assumption was going to be that Jim Miller's grappling was going to be way, way too much for him to handle. And Vince was really solid throughout, man. Like, he put some of his own grappling courses out on that day, and Jim was fighting a good fight, man. I mean, 29-28 is nothing to scoff at, but it was a very, very solid back and forth. Can I say something, though, about Verna Janadoriba real quick?
Dude, she
Jon
looked
Jones.
phenomenal, dude.
Yes.
She looked great. Oh my
Why
God.
did she look great?
Dude, her jujitsu, her ability to bring to the fight so early on, no strikes exchanged, and her transitions, dude, I don't know. It was just like to finally see someone. I know we have like Mackenzie Dern, but the way she was able to demonstrate jujitsu in MMA was phenomenal. Like something I haven't seen in a long time.
Now I really wish I saw it.
Yeah, dude, it was amazing.
I'm
I'll
gonna
send you the
look it up.
clip in a second.
Because
but
Felice Herring is no scrub, you know. She's a legit
No.
fighter. She's a veteran in the sport. So to see a newcomer come in and just dominate her on the ground is with no strikes. Like if you told me it was an MMA fight, I wouldn't have believed it, you know. So hats off to her. She did a great job.
Also, I'm not going to say much more other than, yes, for some strange reason, Rob Schneider was also trending after her win. So take that for what you will, children. But I would tell you, credit to her on the armbar form, but I do have one little note, which is for a split second, if you look at that tape, the thing that always aggravates me in those moments is when you see Fleece out of the armbar for like a half second, like out of danger for a half second, and almost escapes, except doesn't do anything to escape. And it just infuriated me because I was like, yo, if you just kind of hip switch just like a little bit
That's
of a
like-
shrimp.
That's like when I watch like action movies or anything like that, and then there's somebody like they get mounted and someone's like doing the two hands around the throat, like I'm gonna air choke you kind of thing, and I'm just like cringing. I'm just like, oh, why are you just do two jiu-jitsu classes, bro? Like, come on,
And they
really?
die in like 10 seconds.
Yeah, and then they die in 10 seconds. You're like, what the?
It's like, what?
heck?
You're not even going to shoot him to make sure he's
Yeah.
dead? You're just gonna walk away.
Like, it's like so bad. Like they pass out so fast, and it's just so unrealistic. And so it's like my girlfriend's always like, just enjoy the movie, and I'm like, I can't. I'm sorry. And I feel like if I watch this, that's what it's gonna be like.
But do you think it's because the grappling in MMA, it's still at a lower level? Like, what would
Dude, you know
put
what's
that to?
funny? So I know this isn't what you were kind of talking about, but I love how the rising popularity of MMA, how that's leaked into Hollywood, and so now movies that have any type of fight scene or
Now
grappling
incorporate
exchange.
jiu-jitsu.
Yeah,
Well, this is
dude,
John Wick's fault. This is 100% John Wick's fault.
No, but John Wick, like that's one of the things that really pulled the popularity to John Wick, is that he was doing all these like crazy moves that
Yeah,
were like,
But people are like, oh shit, I got to do that.
yeah,
A lot of those moves though in John Wick are judo based.
Mhm. yeah, for
well,
sure.
a lot of our moves are judo based. You deal
Come
with
on.
it, Bolo
Oh,
brothers.
Oh my God, not
I
one of
knew you were
those.
gonna bring it up.
Why are you? Oh my word!
How dare you bring up the history of our sport at a time that's inconvenient to me? How dare you, sir? I would tell
but I
you-
do American jiu-jitsu.
Oh, God.
AKA
yeah, I'm sure
on
you
his
do.
back, baby.
Let's
It's-
leave a nationality out of it.
It worked in Boogie Nights for Mark Wahlberg, and it
Ah,
works
oh
for
my
the
God.
Bolo brothers.
The best exit scene in movie history for sure.
So here's what we can tell you, kids, is that, yes, go watch.
Janji
Vern,
Roba.
I'll send you that.
Go watch Boogie Nights.
Well,
Sure.
don't worry,
Can you
it's
send
on
me that
HBO every 27 seconds. And don't watch the whole Boogie Nights. Just watch
No.
the first 75
Just
minutes.
the last 5 seconds.
No. Just the first 70 minutes. Everything after that is depressing, sad, and you've lived through it with the Trump election. Jon Jones' armbar is
I've never seen it,
unfucking
so now I'm curious.
How do you think she stacks up against everyone else in that division?
No.
Like, do you think that was a one-off, or do you think her grappling will take her far?
She beat Herrig. I don't give a shit. It's one of my like.
Hey, let's go.
You submit
I
people
think-
that quickly, I'll see it again.
I think that she has put a good statement out there that let people know who the fuck she is, and that her one loss is a loss against Carla Esparza. So it's kind of hard to get a sense of where she may be in the UFC. Her last win was also a submission rear naked choke win, and that was back in December of 2019. But she has a nice sprinkling of submission wins. So I think that we are in for a treat to see who and how she will stack up in the next few fights. However, moving on, we're going to close up this with a couple little quick mentions. Daniel Chavez looked really solid against TJ Brown, so that was really good, even though he came in fat. And I would also tell you, let me double check. Actually, no, his opponent came in fat. That's why he beat him. That's right. Then you had Souza, who beat Yoder, question mark? I don't know. That one was close. Chris Daukaus with a savage knockout, punches and a knee. And Kai versus Tony to begin the night was a hell of a fight. Go back and watch that one. So
You mean the
Kevin,
fight that was added after the fact and wasn't at all a part of what we picked?
Yeah, that one happened because they were running out of fights and things got canceled.
Yeah,
so
fuck everyone. So I was like, I see Daukaus versus Porter, Kamika 3 versus Kelly. I was like, I don't remember that fight. I Google it.
Well,
It's like, well, it was
Kamika
added.
2 wasn't available, so they had to get Kamika 3.
I think Kamika the third hadn't occurred to me yet, but I'm curious from
Just throw the victory our way. Whoever won that fight, just give it to the BoloBros.
Yeah, we won that.
Yeah, we didn't pick it, assholes. Actually, I'm curious, Raph, is this where we get to results? Are we there?
We are doing the results.
Well, I
You
wanna ask
wanna
them.
ask them how they. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, how do you two think we did? Give us your feedback. I know you didn't take notes. I've been in group
Judging by
projects
how
with people like
nervous you guys
yourselves
sound.
before.
Judging by how nervous you guys sound, I'm gonna say that we took this one.
Yeah, you guys definitely have really tried to, shy away from bringing the conversation to the whole point of this. So I'm going to go ahead and say we took it.
No, actually, we just wait to reveal at the end. It keeps
Raph
people
could
on
give
longer.
a fuck. Raph hopes I lose. So the fact that you think
Let me
we're
get
in
my
this
hopes
together
up,
is
man.
not a
Come
great
on,
sign.
just raining on
Let
our
me
parade
dream. Why can't I dream?
Because it's wrong, and I don't want you to dream wrong. Dream right, kids.
No. You two keep
Where
dreaming.
righties and lefties don't have to be exploited like this.
Oh
Which
God!
is
All
one
right.
of you a
Well,
righty
listen,
and one
kids.
of you's a
Trying to
lefty.
get
Which
to the
one's the
results.
lefty, Raph? I need to know which one I can't trust.
Kevin,
Can you trust the lefty or can you trust the righty? Which
I
was
can
the one
trust
that
the
you can't
righty. I
trust?
can't trust the lefty. Everyone knows that. Everyone in
You
the
can't trust the
world.
lefty?
Correct.
Well, joke's on you. I'm dyslexic and I don't know what one is actually my right and left. So
Well, joke's on you. I don't know who's talking right now.
Oh man. Yeah. Well, I guess you'll never know.
Kevin, where do we stand on this one?
Well, I'd like to go through the fight specifically.
Go for it.
We both had John Chiroba. You had Parada. I had Burns. You win. I had Davishla. You had Dotson. I win. You had Souza. I had Yoder. You win. I had Chavez. You had TJ Brown. You fucking lose that one. Chavez. I told you.
That was aggressive. That was so aggressive.
Yeah, I felt good about it. We both had O'Malley. That was our bad. We both had Jim Miller. Can't win them all. Then I had Rosenstreich. You had Dos Santos.
Oh,
This is not looking too good.
this is bad. We got to let you get ahead a little bit first, so that we can crush you on the back end, and it'll feel.
Good
It'll
news.
be a
We
little-
both had Daukaus. And then you had Stipe. I had DC for a 5-5 fucking tie. And here's why I'm angry. Because this gets to performance of the night, fight of the night. Well, these fights sucked. So none of us got them right. Raph, it's a 5-5 tie. F this. F the rules. I don't know what to do.
I will go ahead and tell you the ruling on this as the adjudicator. The ruling on the board is I would like to hear a persuasive argument from both parties before I give a ruling here. So this is your final statement. Kevin, I'll begin with you. Why should I give the ruling to you?
Because I was all about DC focusing on the ice cream cake. And I don't think I was wrong.
That's good.
I don't think I was wrong. I think
Yeah.
he was focused on the ice cream cake. And then someone started poking people in the eyes. I can't be responsible for that. No one knew about Cayman the Third. Obviously, that's who I would have chosen over Mr. Kelly. And frankly, the fact that I was able to reference multiple providers of ice cream cakes, I think gives me the clear W in the main fight.
Excellent. BoloBros.
I feel like he's just projecting right now because he wants ice cream cake.
BoloBros.
Relevant.
I will turn
They're
this
not wrong.
podcast around if you do not let me speak and give you the right opportunity to say something. It's not looking favorable for you, but what is your closing statement? One of you make it because you both sound the same. Go.
Oh man. All right, so we're tied right now, and we got to make a closing statement for the fight or for why we won.
Oh, Jesus. Kevin wins. All right. Listen, I tried.
I was just about to say, at least I understood the rules. Rob and I didn't
could
work
not have
this
made
out
that
beforehand.
clear.
And you guys are like, wait, what am I supposed to do? It's like, I guess you're supposed to lose.
Let's be reasonable human beings here. Can
No.
we, at the very least, do a coin toss? I think that's fair. I think we leave it in the hands of fate.
Let's play rock paper scissors instead. That's better. We'll settle it like real men.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, you guys super lost. And here's why this is disappointing. I was prepared to do a tie where you both had to do it, and then you fucked up the final argument. So therefore, Kevin has won the tiebreaker due to judge's preference. He got an advantage, and I just want you to understand that I didn't want to have to give it to him, but you forced my hand here.
Now this sounds rigged.
Sounds rigged.
Fake news.
Fake news.
Okay, great job there in Echo, but I would tell you, go back and listen to the tape and listen to me try to give you an opportunity, and then listen to the moment you actually put it in the toilet and flushed it down.
Oh man.
So Kevin,
that's like what we said too. Is we got to actually like give you guys a little head up. Otherwise, you're not going to play with us again.
Imagine if we let Kevin lose
Good God.
on his own show. The Bros would be bad people.
I've lost 43% of the time. I appreciate your
Yeah,
confidence,
these kids,
but I've been getting my
statistics
ass
don't-
kicked
Well,
by people since
You gotta make
2012.
Mom actually care about you.
Well,
So
I
here's
love
the
you
good
guys.
news. Kids,
Raph,
I just want you to
couldn't
remember
agree
something.
more with them. These two are my favorite. This might be my favorite podcast.
children, here's the reason why you have to do the thing. One, you came on our show. Two, it's not like it's money. You just have to do a fucking video in which you compliment us. I don't see why there's a problem with that.
I see. This is what this is
This is the
about.
ploy.
He doesn't want to do a video saying that BoloBros podcast is the best. So you guys rigged the rule so we wouldn't understand it.
I was literally going to rule in both of your favors and say both of us have to do videos on the other.
Oh, Raph,
And then
I was going to go
again-
the other way. I was going to be like, they
This
nailed
sounds
us.
very
They got
familiar
us.
from-
They
from
called it.
Time ago. This
But
sounds
then
very familiar.
these
This-
dummies over here had to be like, I don't understand the rules. How does this work? I literally just explained how to do it.
Yes, no, this sounds very familiar from a time in the past where the rules are in a different language that people don't
Oh,
understand.
do not
This is
use.
Good try.
very careful here. I'm just
Yeah.
Look over here. Who of us, just real quick, amongst those of us on the show, who looks like they would have been palling around in Jojo Rabbit? And then ask yourself, who would have been the extras?
Oh God,
So
I don't,
I'm
I
just
don't
saying,
want to answer
Danny.
that, Raph.
No,
Taco
Danny, a
versus
little
like
bit.
me wise, like I don't want to.
Danny gives off a very Sam Rockwell-ish vibe. So I'm just saying, if you want to play blame on somebody here.
on the wrong side of that fence.
So anyway, kids, yes, you have to do a video about us, just demonstrating a move. You can promote your stupid seminar.
Here's
and
the great
we'll be
news, Raph.
giving it.
I'm going to
Mm.
BoloBros right now to put a 5-star review.
See,
Hey! Oh, you're the man.
Let's go. It's movement art jiu-jitsu on Google.
Yeah, and this is the guilt speaking. He knows the game is rigged, so he's just doing this to kind of
Yeah.
get it off his chest.
He's like, listen, it will just make them a little bit happy. And
You have no
then
idea how
they will
German
just-
I
they will
am.
be
We
back.
have no guilt in this
everybody
family.
remembers the parts in the history books when Hitler gave 5-star reviews before putting people in an oven. Right. Real smart there. Selective history. Gents, what I'm telling you is, yes, you have to do a video, but do it quickly, and then we will put that up on our site, which will give you guys promotions for this seminar. Does that seem reasonable?
All right.
I guess we'll allow you guys
settle for
to feel like you won this one, just so you feel better and then you play with us again. If we just beat you that bad, you're not going to want to play with us again.
It was 5-5. We tied on every
hold on.
possible category.
Listen, we did a lot of work to make sure that we put it that close.
I would argue there's two of you, so you should have beaten me. And this is not my first 2-on-1 situation. I had to do a whole STD screening before this call. That's personal. That has nothing to do with this. But the doctor's always like, why do you want the anal swab? And it's like, none of your fucking business, doc. How's that sound?
It's just when you make the weird sounds in the doctor's office that he starts to get freaked out, right?
Correct. Yeah, he was a little freaked out. I don't mind telling you. I had to talk him through the whole process. I was like, I don't think those are the right swabs. He's like, I knew I was doing something wrong. It's like, you need the orange ones, my man.
Back in my country, we don't actually have any gloves, so I licked my fingers first.
That would have been fine with me if he had the right swabs.
Oh, God.
Well, listen, when you get to the class material like this, it's usually a signal to pull the podcast over to a close. Gents, why don't you tell people where they can go train with you, because I'm sure they're very excited to go train over with your very new gym, which looks amazing, by the way, and looks like
it does. It does look amazing, by the way.
He said that with so much disdain in his voice. Oh man,
when are you guys gonna come by and train with us, man?
Well, first of all, when a global pandemic maybe decides to get itself under control, and second of all, you guys come to me, because everybody comes to LA at some point, and I don't fly.
Dude, LA, I don't know, man. It sounds like a
excuses.
Mad Max spinoff going on over there, post-apocalyptical vibes.
Yeah.
Yes, when I looked outside of my very, very affordable place in North Hollywood, it definitely looks like Mad Max with people walking their dogs. Yes, very, very fearful. Read everything you need to, kids. But no, you guys come out here for fucking the Worlds and all that sort of shit, so you'll be back. But where can the people find you guys and train and all of that jazz?
Come and train with us at Movement Art Jiu-Jitsu in Richboro, Pennsylvania, just outside of Philadelphia. We have a podcast, BoloBros Podcast. You can follow us online. Hit us up. We're super accessible. So if anybody hears this and just shoots us a message on Instagram, we're really good about responding to everybody, answering questions, whatnot. We have a webinar coming up on August 29th.
Yes, sir. That's a Saturday.
That's a Saturday, August 29th. It's going to be about Bolos. So if you got a screen, you're eligible.
And the time slot is going to be 10 to 12 p.m. And then there's another one at 1 p.m. to 3 p.m.
So we're going to be doing online instruction on video, live call. Then we're going to be doing Q&A. And then we will be sending recorded videos of the techniques so that you can have them to review on your own. It is well worth the money. Hit us up to reserve a spot on Instagram at Danny Freestyle, but the L is a 1, either because I don't know how to spell or it was taken. We'll go with that one. And at that Nick Salas, hit us up, guys.
BoloBros, and I'm gonna actually do the whole feed. Movement Art Jiu-Jitsu. You can find them on all of the interwebs, especially if you take it just a little bit further with BoloBrosPodcast.podbean.com. I was able to listen to several episodes. They do a good job. They average that nice timing portion you're looking for, and you can still hit episode 3 drilling, not for oil, as I found out. The internet corrected me, or episode 04 warm-ups. I dig this. I like when people give us a little, hey, here's how you do this. This is what we mean. We're talking in 30 to 40-minute increments. That's huge. So check these mofos out. They really do practice what they preach, as I found out the hard way, because I was so ready to give you shit about not baramoloing that guy, and then it's like, wait.
That's cool. That's cool.
And
He's
you
like,
did.
like, no, you don't barambolo as he's baramboling.
He was like, wait, keep watching. He's like, shit. I gotta
We couldn't
keep
have
looking
timed it
through their
better.
fights for a non-Bolo, but that's not going to be very helpful in this moment. So, gentlemen, thank you so much for joining the podcast.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having us, guys. You guys are awesome and loads of fun.
The number you have dialed has been changed. The new number is... Please note, the new number is